We welcome in Tom Haberstroh, our old friend is here. Tom, you know the whole NBA, but you especially know the Miami Heat organization and Miami Heat culture inside out. So no better person to dissect this situation. I don't think it's much of a situation, though. It's kind of their love language down there, isn't it?
It is. And you mentioned Bumpgate. I covered the Miami Heat for ESPN during Bumpgate, and it was one of the craziest stories in sports because we all saw what happened. LeBron James going into a timeout was going one way, Eric Spoelstra was going the other way, and bumped shoulders, and they played it off like it was nothing. Now we know it was something. It was something. Like there is a modicum of suspension of disbelief here with this story. They're downplaying it, saying it's not a big deal. It's just competitive fire. And hey, they're competitive people. But it's the same thing what they said back in that Bumpgate. It's the same thing that we said when it was Dwayne Wade going at Spo in the middle of the 2012 NBA playoffs, when they had their backs against the wall against the Indiana Pacers and they were going at each other in a timeout. I remember also Gary Payton and D Wade going at it in the 2006 NBA playoffs in the first round against Chicago. And what I'll point to is this. In each of those examples, what happened afterwards? Okay. In 2006, the Miami Heat go on to win the title, okay, after that spat between Gary Payton and D Wade. Then in 2010, what happens after Bumpgate? The Miami Heat go on and win 12 games in a row. They win 19 of their next 20 games or something like that after Bumpgate, when everything seemed to be falling and collapsing. And then, of course, we remember when D Wade had that terrible game. It was Game 3 against the Indiana Pacers. He had 5 points, and Spo was going at him, and they went at each other. Yeah. What happened after that? They had the best game of LeBron James and D Wade's history up until that point in Game 4. They win the NBA title later that season. So I'll just remind people that yes, it looks bad right now, this Eric Spoelstra and Udonis Haslem and Jimmy Butler spat, but I keep reminding people, like, every time we try to bury the Miami Heat after these spats, it galvanizes them and they go on and prove everyone wrong, and everything seems to be fine.
Well, I'll just say this. Hey, look, Jimmy Butler's that dude, and Jimmy Butler is who I would want in an alley, figuratively speaking. You know, like, I've had one game to win, I might pick Jimmy Butler of contemporary NBA players. But you don't want it with UD. I think we all know that. So, like, I don't know what was going through Jimmy Butler's mind, but let me ask you this. Based on what you've seen from the Miami Heat lately, and in particular last night, losing to a Warriors team that, again, did not play Steph, Clay, or Dre, they haven't looked very number one seed-ish, conference favorite-ish lately. So you mentioned the precedent. Does this team have that gear in them, that next level in them that you talk about those other teams?
Well, make no mistake about it. They are number one in the Eastern Conference just by a technicality. They have 47 wins. Okay. I know people like to talk about number one Miami Heat. They're on pace to win 52 games in the regular season. Okay. Like, that is not a number one team in the Eastern. It's probably the worst number one team in recent NBA history. So it's a matter of a technicality that they're the number one team. If you ask Pat Riley right now, or Eric Spoelstra right now, do you think you're the best team in the Eastern Conference and worthy of a number one seed in a conference? And they probably tell you no. Like, this team has issues. They have trouble scoring in the half court, and you saw it in last night's game. Like, against teams that are losing star players, whether it's Draymond or Steph Curry, or the other night against Philly when they didn't have Joel Embiid or James Harden, they can't score, or they just have trouble meeting the moment and taking advantage of these absences. So it tells me that they need better leadership from the players and better accountability to get up for these games. And the Miami Heat, yes, they're number one seed, but make no mistake about it, that is not an elite team. That is a really good team that happens to be in the title conversation because there's just not a lot of elite teams in the Eastern Conference. The Phoenix Suns are running away with this thing now that Chris Paul is coming back tonight, and Golden State's battered without Steph Curry. But this Miami Heat team, it is not elite. They need to be better offensively and be playing together. That spat last night definitely was brewing for a while, and you saw Eric Spoelstra go right at Jimmy Butler. And look, Eric Spoelstra is half Filipino. Okay. He's a guy who, like, for a while in the boxing ring worshipped Manny Pacquiao. Like, I've watched Manny Pacquiao pay-per-view fights with Spo. And like, he's fit, man.
Don't sleep,
he might be 51 years old, but I'm telling you, like, I don't think there's anybody in the league that would say that Eric Spoelstra was not serious about stepping to Jimmy Butler and saying, if you want to fight me right now, you're out of your mind. Like, that was such a crazy moment, because right now, we're not talking about whether we should fire Eric Spoelstra. That's how much respect he has in the league. That any other coach in the league steps to their star player and is basically like in their face constantly, going at him, throwing a clipboard at him. We're talking about, hey, that's out of line. That's out of character. Like, they should discipline Eric Spoelstra, the head coach of that team. They have so much respect around the league. Eric Spoelstra, I don't think they have a problem at all about what Eric Spoelstra did yesterday. It's all on Jimmy Butler.
I'm on Jimmy Butler's side, though. I'll tell you why. Just from a trigger standpoint. And listen, all of you. I'm not a fighter. Not necessarily. I'm not a fighter. Tom, I don't know if you're a fighter. Michael Smith, not a fighter. But if somebody,
I'll whoop your ass.
If somebody, okay, but there it is. Great example.
Say it again.
Great
Say
example.
It again, Holly. Test him.
Great example.
I knew where you were going. I knew where you were going.
You made my point. Anybody saying, I'll beat your ass. Oh, okay. All right, let's go then. Yeah. Let's go. I don't care who it is. So, no, Jimmy Butler, anybody who hears that is just going to respond in a way, even if you don't like the odds, your own odds. Like, if Shaq said that to me, if LeBron said that to me, if Jimmy Butler said that to me, I'd be like, let's go. And they would. They would do what they said they were going to do. But like you say that to somebody, you're not really you're inflaming the situation. You're not making it better.
Well, I also think it would seem like it's bigger than that. Like, so do we know Stroh, like, what precipitated Haslam's "I'll beat your ass"? But also, whatever it was, maybe Spo was just like, look, both of y'all, cut it out. Like, I mean, I don't know, but it's just, I don't think Spoelstra was like, yeah, he'll whip your ass. It's like, it seemed like there was some kind of deeper frustration than just what Michael's talking about, the idle I'll beat your ass threat. It seems like there was more to it. Do we know any more about what triggered this entire episode?
I can't tell you.
Or losing?
The Miami Heat family is very close to the vest. They have a cone of silence. Anything like this happens, they keep it within the family. And I'll just say this.
Yeah.
When people were circulating that video last night, people were saying that there was UD versus Jimmy Butler. And what I saw was something completely different. I saw Eric Spoelstra challenging Jimmy Butler and UD, as they're calling him in Miami, UD stepping up in defense and support of Eric Spoelstra, the coach, and being like, no. You're not going to go after my head coach, that we've won titles together. You haven't won anything in this league. We've won titles together. If you're going to go at him,
coach now anyway.
He is the highest paid assistant coach in the NBA. Udonis Haslem. He is very much an assistant coach for them. And I think when you look at the confrontation last night, it started with Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler, and Eric Spoelstra saying, wait, you seriously want to fight me? I'm just reading lips here. And then UD said, if you're going to fight him, you're going to have to go through me first, and we can go outside. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing here. And what I come back to in this is a respect level, is that Udonis Haslem and Eric Spoelstra, Pat Riley, they've been through some wars together. They have been through those battles. They've been through Bumpgate. They've been through losing to the Dallas Mavericks in the 2011 finals. If you go back and watch the film of Gary Payton going at D Wade in the playoffs in 2006, who was separating D Wade from Gary Payton? It was UD. So he's been all from day one, been there in these battles before. And I think he's saying to Jimmy Butler, like, we've been here before you came here, and you like LeBron James. This is not what he said last night. I think he's trying to articulate LeBron James came here to win championships. He came to the Miami Heat organization because we are known to be a championship organization. And for the same thing that Jimmy Butler went at Eric Spoelstra is a respect issue. And I think that, for me, two elite people in their profession, Jimmy Butler and Eric Spoelstra going at each other, I think they're going to get better for it. But last night, Eric Spoelstra downplaying it and say, hey, we're just, it wasn't personal. It was just, we're arguing over dinner.
Yeah.
Like, get out with that. Like, it was very much an incident. And I think it did start with Eric Spoelstra and Jimmy Butler.
You said earlier, if you ask Pat Riley or Eric Spoelstra if Miami is a true number one, they might tell you, no, we're not the best team in the East. So I'm going to ask Tom Haberstroh, if not Miami, who is? Who's the best team in the East?
Milwaukee. For me, it's Milwaukee. Milwaukee has continuity. They've won the championship. They got Brook Lopez back in 5 games. He's back in the starting lineup. They've won 9 of their last 11 games. I think they're rolling right now. As long as they stay healthy, Chris Middleton comes back. That to me is the number 1 team in the Eastern Conference. You can tell me about Kyrie and the mandate and Kevin Durant, but I'm telling you, like defensively and just the consistency, I can't bank on the Brooklyn Nets making a run in the postseason. For me, it starts with the Milwaukee Bucks, and then in that second tier, you're going to have Philly, you're going to have Miami and Brooklyn in that second tier. I don't think Chicago's ready. Their record against the top 3 teams in the NBA speaks for itself. I don't think they're at that level quite yet. But to me, when you look at the Eastern Conference at the top, Milwaukee, you start with them, defending champs, and they got Brook Lopez back.
Tom, do you know where I live? I keep waiting to hear it. I didn't hear it. You said Milwaukee, and then you went Brooklyn, then you went Chicago and Miami. Hello? Look at the power rankings. Hello? No Celtics?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Celtics should be in that second tier group. There are a lot of teams I have to keep track of here. The Celtics have done an amazing job, bang-up job on the defensive end. That is the calling card of that team. Jason Tatum has been on an incredible tear. He's turned around his season. And when you look at that team, man, who is the Defensive Player of the Year award? Well, I don't know if you can put it on Marcus Smart or Rob Williams. The thing about the Boston Celtics, they play such great defense as a unit that I think people are trying to convince themselves Defensive Player of the Year. It's open this year. Maybe it should go to Marcus Smart or Robert Williams. Man, that thing is a unit. That team is playing at such a high level. Everyone is on a string, as they call it, when you're playing so well connected defensively. I think they've been incredible. Does Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown still have another tier to level to get to? I think they do. They're going to be in that mix for the East. I still don't put them at number 1.
Your player efficiency rating is off the charts. I just want you to know that. Because I only have one other thing. You covered quite a bit in that spurt there that I was looking to touch with you on. Memphis winning again last night without Ja Morant against the aforementioned Brooklyn Nets. You said Phoenix is running away with it, and it's really hard to argue that. It's really hard. Now to get Chris Paul back after a 15-game absence. If he stays healthy, it feels like it's their conference, if not their title, to lose. I mean, obviously, what Milwaukee did against them last year. Can they challenge them? Can they challenge for the Western Conference, or are we still a year too early with the Grizzlies? You don't see it?
No, I don't see it. To me, it feels like that Derrick Rose MVP season when they were going at the Miami Heat, and it felt like they were coming. They won 60 games. People are talking themselves into the Chicago Bulls because of D Rose. They needed that number 2. They needed that number 2 superstar who could step up if Derrick Rose was having an off night or having something that, he didn't have it all there. You need more than a one person punch, right? And Ja Morant is sensational. But to me, the postseason is about the superstars, and they don't have that yet. I will say this, outside of Ja Morant, I'm saying, I will say this. They're 15-2 without Ja Morant this year. 15-2.
Hey, I
it's
know you love the
crazy
numbers.
what they've done.
Their offense is incredible. All their numbers are incredible without him. So I'm just like, maybe they don't have that second bona fide superstar. I get the Rose comparison, those Chicago Bulls, but they can get buckets from so many other places.
That's right.
Doesn't it feel like, couldn't this be like the 04 Pistons with a superstar? No disrespect to the 04 Pistons, but you know what I'm saying? Like that balanced
that's disrespect
attack
to the 04 Pistons. I don't.
No, it's not
Vinny Goodwill
disrespectful.
is not on the show today, but if you had him on and you just said there were no superstars.
No, I seriously don't.
Come on.
There's a Hall of Famer in Ben Wallace, and there's some.
Who's their superstar? But I understand Mike's point. Who's their superstar?
You understand what I'm saying? Like that was the team that kind of bucked the trend. There was more balance to that group. I'm saying, couldn't the Grizzlies be a balanced group that have a superstar on top of that balance, as opposed to the model of a big 3 and a bunch of other guys that's filling in roles? Because if they get 132, albeit against Brooklyn, but they get 132 without Ja Morant, they can get buckets from other places.
Yeah. I mean, I just think in the playoffs when you can scheme against other teams and try to take away weapons and try to game plan that attack, that balanced attack, like you need to get guys who can get buckets in crunch time in postseason play when all the lights are on you. And I think in the regular season, Draymond Green talks about it. They're 82 game players and then there's 16 win players, and 16 win players in the postseason. That's what you look for, is it's two totally different seasons. So they could make a run, but to me, it's going to take another Chris Paul injury or Devin Booker injury for them to break through and puncture that wall to win a championship or get to the finals in the Western Conference. I think everything goes through Phoenix. Do I think that they can pick up a game in a series against Phoenix? Yes. Can they challenge Phoenix, whatever that means? Yes, they can probably win 1 or 2 games against Phoenix. But to me, I still think they're a year away, not to take away from their regular season.
All right. Hey, man, it's good to see you. It feels like it's been a while. It's that time of year. Let's make this visits more frequent, okay?
Yeah, man. Next time we got to talk about how I think Russell Westbrook is shooting with the wrong hand. We talked about it on the Basketball Illuminati podcast this week, and that is, I'm telling you, once you look at the numbers, it is crazy. Russell Westbrook is left-handed, a real person, should be shooting lefty, but he's actually shooting righty.
Wasn't that was that the LeBron? Not the LeBron. Who was that? Was that that was Simmons? No,
Ben
that was
Simmons. Ben Simmons.
That was the Simmons.
Ben Simmons too.
Why are we? Why? But this is kind of late for this, isn't it? Like, does he know this? Is he aware of this? Like,
well,
I don't
he
know
knows
if this
he's
old dog
left-handed.
can learn
He
that
writes
new
left-handed.
trick.
He throws a football
Right, no,
left-handed.
but I
He brushes
mean,
his teeth
all
left-handed. But like,
this time, nobody suggested this.
I'm telling you, man, it's the weirdest thing that we like talk all about Ben Simmons and that whole thing, and yet Russell Westbrook, who's the worst high-volume three-point shooter in NBA history, we haven't talked about the fact that he's left-handed and he's shooting right-handed.
But LeBron is left-handed too, isn't he? Like naturally with everything else. Yeah.
LeBron he's hit the genetic lottery like 6 times over. Like comparing yourself to LeBron is just fool's errand. So like
no, I'm just trying to remember the handedness. The handedness. I knew LeBron was left-handed, but no, the Simmons was the one he's shooting with the wrong hand. Russell Westbrook, I guess it makes sense. Why didn't somebody fix this already? But leave it to Tom Haberstroh to uncover this.
Maybe he
let's talk about that.
Hey, you know what? Stroh. Maybe he shoots inside the line with his right hand, and he shoots threes with his left hand. To switch it up. In-game experiment. Hey, thanks for watching Brother from Another on YouTube. Make sure you hit subscribe before you leave, and be sure to watch us 3 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time on Peacock. Appreciate you.